Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for being here. I'm really looking forward to having this chat with you today about the things that get in the way of our success. When you're working towards a goal, what are the things that stop you and that bring you right back to square one? Has that ever happened to you when you're working on getting fit and healthy, let's say, or you're working on kicking or breaking free from an unhealthy habit, and you find yourself after a few weeks or a few months back at square one and you're not really sure why? This is what I'm going to be discussing and chatting with you in today's podcast episode. Before we get stuck in, I just want to say thank you for being here. I feel like I've been on such a journey with this podcast. I started it in COVID and I can't even bear to look back at some of the episodes. Even up until recently, I feel like I really struggled to share how I feel about things with you, in the sense that I often feel like I've been holding back a lot about who I am or the opinions and the ideas that I have, and the things that I want to share with you, dear listener. And I just feel like I've shed another skin a few weeks ago, and I am even able to be more myself in this podcast. And it's always been a big struggle for me, first off, to find out who I am, and second of all, to share how I feel and how I can help you. So thank you for being here. I love that you're here, and I hope you go and get yourself a nice cup of tea, or if you're driving or you're walking, thank you for being here. I want to talk to you about the things that may be getting in your way of success, and I'm particularly talking to you if you are somebody who has been really struggling to get fit and healthy and you just feel like you're going around in circles. Maybe you've joined programs before, or maybe you're in a program now and you're just feeling really stuck and like you're going around in circles. I want to share with you some of the things that I have learned over the past 3 years that have blown my mind, that I didn't know before. I might have known them on like a surface level, but I didn't adopt them and like take them on and use them as power. And I really want you to use them as power. So these are things that, like I gave up drinking on the 1st of May 2022, and I feel like since then my life has completely changed. I have discovered who I am and I have become fit and healthy. It is in my DNA now. It is who I am. I am fit and healthy. I no longer struggle with overeating or drinking alcohol because I don't drink anymore. I don't struggle with these things anymore. I've become fit and healthy. However, I spent most of my life being unfit and unhealthy. I have had many periods in my life where I have been healthy, getting ready for my wedding, or like there has been times in the past 20 years, 25 years that I have been fit and healthy, but it's never lasted, and I've always been extremely stressed and overwhelmed throughout those healthy periods. So technically speaking, was I really healthy from a holistic point of view? No, not really. You mean I was fit and I was trim, but I've always been so stressed out and overwhelmed. It's only been since I gave up alcohol on the 1st of May 2022 that I began my journey to reducing that stress and overwhelm and actually letting go of so much of that. And through letting go of that stress and overwhelm, finding out who I am. The biggest realization I've had is that you can't really find out who you are when you're so fucking stressed out and overwhelmed, because you're just living up on the roof. Like you're just like a cat on a hot tin roof, surviving day to day. And that was me from the age of doing my junior cert, the age of 16, all the way up to the age of 42. I'm 45 now. So one of the first things that I didn't understand that held me back for years is what happens when you're trying to create new habits. I see this all of the time. I've been coaching women for over 16 years now. However, in the past couple of years with Thrive Academy, I have definitely spotted patterns and similar behavioural patterns with many of my members that initially start in Thrive Academy, myself included when I was going through the journey as well, is that we tend to either forget or not really pay attention to what's happening in the brain when we're creating new habits. So what happens many a time is, this might happen to you too, is that you have so many fantastic intentions to get fit and healthy. You may have like such big drivers, like you're going to a wedding and you're turning 50 in November, let's say, okay? And you like, they're big goals and they're really motivating goals too. And you might say, this is it. I don't have I'm never going to get a bigger reason why to get fit and healthy than this. Turning 50 or turning 60 or having a big roundy birthday, or you've got a massive event that you're coming up to. These goals are fantastic drivers for many women to get fit and healthy and to finally get out of the rut that you may be feeling in. However, what happens, I've noticed with a lot of people, is that we start a program or we start on our journey of getting fit and healthy, and almost because we haven't given it any thought, we expect it to go really, really well from the get-go. And we think that because our intention is there and because our goal is there, that it should be simple, that the motivation should be enough to get you from A to B. And we're always really surprised when it's not that simple. And almost every client I coach starting the program goes through this little mini journey at the start, that you may sign up, start Thrive Academy, or start to get fit and healthy, set your goals, set your action steps. Then a few weeks down the line, after you're following your action steps, life might get in the way, work might get super busy, or you might have a deadline, or somebody in your family gets sick, or something happens that throws you out of your normal routine. So what can happen then is that you revert back to your old habits, and then you stay there and you never get back on track unless you have a chat with somebody and you get going again. So I kind of want to chat to you about what happens when you start something new and what happens to the brain. So scientifically, the brain likes safety and familiarity. So even if you were to just take that fact alone, that your brain likes familiarity and it likes to feel safe, that it makes sense that when you start something new, that your brain is not going to be very happy, because it's getting out of the familiarity, it's getting out of the safety bubble, and you're moving it from a place of comfort to discomfort. And your brain doesn't like to be in discomfort. So it will really work very hard at feeling safe and bringing you back to your comfort zone. And the ways in which your brain will do this is with the voice in your head. It might start telling you old limiting beliefs that it's too late, it's too hard, you're never going to get where you want to be, so you may as well quit. You're not good enough. And old conditioned behaviors and feelings will bubble up. That is nailed on. So if you aren't really paying attention to this, what tends to happen is you tend to hear that voice in your head telling you, why are you doing this? You've never been consistent. Why should this be any different? You'll hear that. And because you're so busy and you work so hard, and a lot of the things that we do are on autopilot, you don't really notice that voice is telling you this. So instead, you just hear it and revert back to your old habits. And that voice dies down again. And your brain feels safe. And you feel back in your comfort zone again. And your brain doesn't perceive the new routine as a threat. It's back in its comfort zone. It's back in familiarity. And then you go back to your old default habits. You stop working out. You stop that lovely structure that you were in with your food. You stop following what we call in Thrive Academy PAMs. And you're back to where you were in the first place. Now, this is very much what people call the all or nothing. And they say, maybe you've said it too, like, oh, I'm very all or nothing. When actually what's really going on at play is something really normal and very science-backed Your brain doesn't like new things. You try to create new habits. It doesn't like that, so it tries to bring you back to your old default habits. Now, knowing this for you is absolute power. It's power for me too, and I use it all the time. Every single time now I do something new. Instead of just on autopilot listening to what my brain is telling me and kind of believing it and feeling like shit and being really hard on myself when I start a program and saying like, I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to be like those other women in the program. I'm so bad at this. I have too much of a hurdle to jump. I'm so unfit. It's okay for them. Their lives are easier. You actually notice that that's just your brain trying to keep you safe. And you hear these thoughts and you say, that's just my brain trying to keep me in my comfort zone, because I'm clearly creating new habits that are out of the comfort zone and the brain doesn't like that. So what happens then is you notice all the negativity, you notice the negative inner voice, you notice why it's feeling uncomfortable doing the new habits. So because you're noticing it, you're able to continue on because you're able to identify what it is. And you can say to yourself, this is just my brain not liking me creating new habits because it's making the brain feel safe and uncomfortable. However, after a few weeks, when this becomes my new normal, the brain will settle and this will all be good. Saying that and doing that is absolute power and will get you past those first few weeks when you're trying to embed new habits. And once you know this and you listen out for it, you can't unknow it. Like if your friend asks you to go and play tennis with you, or you go and pick up a new card game, or you start playing bridge, or you start playing some sport or playing golf, and you're playing it and you really want to play and your goal is to get really good at golf, and you start and you feel like you're really bad and your brain will start telling you, don't bother, it's raining, or don't bother. You say, this is just the brain not feeling safe. This is me getting out of my comfort zone. This is why it feels uncomfortable and unfamiliar and it feels like not normal. This is all normal for it to not feel normal. I'm going to keep going. At some point down the line, it's going to be a new habit and it's going to feel really normal. Does that make sense? I know I went around it completely the long way, but if I had to pick the number one thing that I see that holds so many women back, maybe it's holding you back now, it's this. If there was one thing that I wanted every single woman to know who was trying to get fit and healthy, it is that. Take it slow, take it steady. Hear the negative voice in your head telling you that you're not good enough and that you're not unfit, that you're not fit and that you're never going to be able to do it. And just notice that that's just the brain's cry for help, that it's feeling unsafe, that you've taken it out of its comfort zone, that everything you're doing isn't familiar. The brain likes familiarity and the brain can't really, it's not telling the difference between unhealthy and healthy. It's not saying, oh, well, you're taking me out of my comfort zone, but it's with healthy habits, so that's okay. It doesn't give a shit about that. The brain will just want you to stay in your comfort zone. It doesn't give a shit that it's the comfort zone with unhealthy habits. It doesn't give a shit that your comfort zone is sitting on the couch at night, eating shit and not working out and not taking care of yourself and feeling so stressed out and overwhelmed and pissed off and hating all of it. It doesn't give a shit that that's your comfort zone. Out of the comfort zone for you going from that place will be eating healthy, following PAMs, exercising, reducing your stress and overwhelm. That'll be your new habits for a while, action steps around that. And it doesn't give a shit that that's better for you. That'll just feel unsafe and unfamiliar and horrible. So it'll want to drag you back. It'll want to drag you back. And remember that it drags you back with loads of really sneaky ways. Your limiting beliefs, the stories that you tell yourself, how you've been conditioned, that negative inner voice that will tell you you're a heap of shit and that to why bother. That voice in your head that pretends that you've no time, or that all the excuses that it'll come up with that you automatically believe if you're not careful, if you're not noticing. So I encourage you, if you are struggling and going around in circles, that stop looking for another diet plan and stop looking for a different solution. Focus on what your brain is telling you, what that voice is telling you when you're trying to get fit and healthy. and notice how much it tries to drag you back. And all you have to do is notice it and soothe it. Soothe it. Tell it it's safe. Tell it that it's okay. And go so slow and so steady at the start that it doesn't get overwhelmed. And once you don't step into the overwhelm, your brain will cope with the new habits if you continue to tell it that it's safe. If you continue to tell yourself that you're safe. You'll get past those first few weeks where you really want to be embedding the healthy habits. The second thing that I want to tell you, if you, dear listener, are going around in circles and you haven't got to where you want to be, is that the little bits of failure on the way to success is what makes up success. Now, if you had told me this a couple of years ago, I would have told you were just a fucking... just no, stop it. It's okay for you to say that. Like, what are you saying that failure is part of success? It's okay for you because you've done it. And I just wouldn't have listened to you, and it would have just felt very irritating, I think, if you had said that to me. Like, embrace the parts of success that are failure. However, if you have a little think about it, like, nobody goes, like, no successful person in their field goes and does something once and then that's it, they win. So if you decide like you want to go and get good at tennis and you go and play your first match and you lose your match, you don't walk off and quit for life. It's a little bit easier to see it in sport, how cracked it is that we're so concerned with not doing a good job. Like if you went to go and play a round of golf for your very first time and you played really badly, like, does that mean you're going to never go back again? Actually, do you know what? It probably does for a lot of people. Like it is mental that we expect to be so good at something when we first start. Like we're so up our own holes if we think about it. Like the ego that's involved in that. When you think about all these people that have like built up companies or became successful athletes, the years of training, the years of heartache and failure and setbacks, like to become Roland Garros or like to become Andre Agassi, all those matches that they lost, all those times that they wanted to quit. But it's fine to watch that in a movie and to just go, this is deadly, I love their comeback, happy days. But we're not so good when it's ourselves. We don't want to go through the messy, uncomfortable part. We just want it to go really well or else we're not interested. And I know that sounds like maybe a bit harsh, like, but when it comes down to it, sometimes it is as simple as that you're not willing to keep going through when it doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere. Or like it doesn't feel like you're willing to write out every single Monday, this week is the week I quit sugar. Like this week is the week I break free from alcohol. This week is the week I become consistent with my workouts. And be willing and able to write that every single Monday until it comes true. That so many of us, me for 20 years, would try something, not do it, and then go, fuck that. When actually, success comes from saying to yourself, the outcome is nailed on, and I don't give a shit how long I have to spend getting to where I want to be, but I'm not giving up until I get there. And I'm just going to keep changing my approach. And I don't give a shit if every single Monday, after having a big sugar binge all weekend, that I write, I'm breaking free from the sugar cycle, or I'm getting consistent with my healthy habits. So many people quit when they don't crack it. But you only crack it when you don't quit. So if you're quitting, you're not going to crack it. You're never going to crack it when you quit, but you will crack it if you don't quit. So you have to get comfortable with feeling like you're failing. You have to. But then when you do get comfortable with feeling like you're failing, you'll realize you're actually succeeding because you're getting comfortable with failing. So actually you start to feel successful. You start to feel successful when you understand what feeling like you're failing is. I mean, there's so many clients in Thrive Academy that are just like focusing on creating new habits and letting go of old ones. And just every week they're going at it again and again and again. And it is my favorite thing to watch. And it is one of my things that I admire the most in people. That fucking grit, that grit where the heels are fucking dug in and you just know she's going to crack the sugar habit. I'm thinking of one client in particular, and she wants to crack the sugar habit. She wants to break free from the cycle. She's not quite there yet. She's quit the alcohol cycle, but you just see her coming back every single Monday going, this is it, I'm continuing to go it. This didn't go great last week, but I'm continuing to do it. And you just know she's going to be so successful because she's just keeping on going. And if you're struggling to, if you feel like a piece of shit because you're back at square one, know that you can only win when you're in the ring. When you're in the ring with the gloves on, ready to fight, ready to get where you want to be. If you're unfit and you're unhealthy now and you feel like you eat too much shit and you drink too much shit or you're scrolling too much, I respect and admire you so much if you're just keeping on going, because you're going to eventually get there. You will. You're going to eventually crack it if you don't quit. You just have to continue to change your approach. And this is what I did with alcohol and sugar for the past 3 years. I quit alcohol on the 1st of May 2022. And it was the previous 2 years before that I spent just trying a new approach. And I've told you this before, that my ways of approaching alcohol were try to reduce it. I went through a phase of only drinking beer, only drinking wine, drinking beer and then wine, drinking wine with dinner and then beer, drinking on a Saturday night, drinking on a Friday, drinking on a Friday and a Saturday, only drinking every second weekend, drinking after 6, drinking during the day. And then I finally landed on quitting alcohol. So they were all the different, no joke, they were all the different approaches I took to breaking free from the claw I feel alcohol had on my life, the horrible claw it had. I tried everything. You only hear now about the fact that I've quit alcohol, but I was in that messy, shitty phase for 2 years, trying to figure it all out. And as Tony Robbins says, how many times you try to change your approach until you get to where you want to? As many fucking times as it takes. And it's the same with the sugar. I tried, well, not the sugar actually, really, overeating. I tried to cut down on portion sizes, like when it was really unhealthy, not in the past few years, like get rid of carbs, have dinner really early, have dinner really late, really restrict during the day, like follow certain recipes. I tried so many different solutions to try to not overeat that eventually when I tried to reduce my stress and overwhelm, that was the thing that worked. But I spent years trying to fucking not overeat, and I tried so many different ways to not overeat that didn't work. And I just kept on changing my approach, trying new ways, and then bang, reduce the stress and overwhelm. Oh wow, I don't overeat anymore. So I encourage you to just not be worried about it being hard, or you not being perfect, or you feeling like you're doing everything wrong, or maybe you're consistent with your workouts but you still drink loads at the weekends. It doesn't matter. You're being consistent with your workouts. Like, just because you might be not doing great in other areas of your life, the one area of your fitness and your health that you are is fantastic. So like, keep going, don't give up. Another thing that I want you to know about is not realizing that the negative voice in your head isn't fact. I wish somebody had told me that. Why didn't anyone tell me that? I've only known that the past couple of years. I used to think that what you thought was the truth, but actually your brain can never know the full truth because it's only perspective. It's only your perspective. And what you see, like the lens on which you see life, is made up of your memories, your limiting beliefs, how you've been brought up, how you've been conditioned, the stories that you've been told, and the stories that you tell yourself. So all these things make up how you think. So sometimes when you are working at being fit and healthy, you have all these preconditioned ideas and thoughts about it, and thoughts about how you are and how you're going to be on the journey towards getting fit and healthy. And if you don't realize that your thoughts aren't facts, when your thoughts tell you things that are negative and nasty and untrue about yourself, you're going to absorb it and believe it, and it's going to hinder your progress. Now, I've had really bad self-esteem issues over the years. Like, very, very bad. Very bad. I used to want to really almost be violent towards myself and claw at myself. And I've let people in the past treat me very badly. Without getting into it, I definitely don't want this podcast to be about anything other than getting fit and healthy. It's not my realm of where I want to go with this. What I'm trying to say is that the reason I'm able to share with you that what you're thinking can be what's stopping you is because that's what happened to me for many years. Calling myself very bad names, not feeling enough, not feeling as good as the majority of other people I'd be in contact with, not feeling at their level, at their standard, feeling like a fraud, feeling like the isolated, stand in the corner kind of person, like out of the group, like just not the fit, never fitted in. I never ever felt like I fitted in anywhere. And you can imagine that the thoughts that would come from that would be me telling myself all the time that I'm like weird and that my brain is different and that I'm just really silly and annoying and fat and ugly and stupid and I'll never amount to anything. And like these kind of thoughts used to go around in my head without me giving it much thought. Like I wouldn't be sitting there going, God, I'm such a dick. But it would just, that would just be going off on my head in autopilot all the time. And as you can imagine, that impacts what you do during the day. It's going to impact how you approach things. If you think you're an absolute dick that isn't going to amount to anything, you're not going to say the things you want to say, or you're not going to be yourself, and you're not going to put the passion and drive in the way you want it into your stuff, because you're just going to feel like it's shit anyway. So notice, when I started noticing the thoughts I was telling myself, I went on this big journey of noticing it and telling myself a more empowering thought and belief. And through that practice, that doesn't take any extra time. You do it in the moment. You do it in the present moment. I started to let go of those self-esteem issues I had and started to actually notice that the reason I had so many self-esteem issues was because of the experiences I've had that have all led up to me having these really bad self-esteem issues, which I am now letting affect my life now. So when I started noticing that and started replacing them with empowering thoughts, I was able to then continue on the journey and follow the action steps without self-sabotaging and dragging myself back. So what I'm trying to say to you is notice how you speak to yourself. Understand that the way you speak to yourself and what you tell yourself isn't fact. It's just how you've been conditioned and what is currently your perspective on yourself, which isn't the truth. It's just a perspective. And that perspective is there because of the experiences you've had. And once you start to understand that, you then are able to realize that that's been holding you back. And once you realize that that's been holding you back, you're able to then practice on a daily basis having more empowering thoughts that are actually going to serve you and work with you rather than against you, which is fantastic. And like I said, you don't need any extra time. You just need to practice it every day. So remember that getting fit and healthy and working towards a goal isn't just about the actions that you're taking. It's about noticing your default behaviors and thoughts throughout the day and recognizing and noticing that a lot of them are holding you back and keeping you stuck. The last thing that I want to say, I'm going to wrap up with this, is that what you focus on is what you get. Again, another one of those things that I have heard a lot before. And yeah, I know that. Yeah, what you focus on, you get. However, it's true. Like, what you focus on, you get. So like you look at your day or you look at your life, and it's a Monday, for example, okay? And you're looking at the day ahead and you're looking at what you have to do. Are you looking at it through a negative lens and seeing that like you're overworked, you're really busy, you've no time for yourself, it's raining, it's cold, you're tired? And when you think of your day like that, that is what you get. You're cold. You don't like the rain. You're telling yourself you don't like it. You're feeling overworked. You're tired. You're overwhelmed. Or are you seeing the day ahead of you? You're in the present moment. You give yourself permission to enjoy the day. You drop your shoulders and you think that, aren't you so lucky to be alive, that you get to do these things? And actually, unlike other countries, like you get to design your day and design your life, and you get to, it might take a little bit of time, but you get to control these things. Like if you don't have the time, you can start to figure out a way today how to get time and work on that. And isn't that really cool? And isn't it so deadly that the plants are getting watered and that it looks fantastic today? And this is what I've learned, and it sounds so basic, but it has changed my life. So that's why I want to share it with you. That what you focus on, you get. You can look around the room and you can look for blue, and all you'll see is blue, blue everywhere. And then you can do the same exercise and you say, well, now I'm going to look for red. And then all you can see is red. The red stands out. And it's the same with life. Like what we focus on, we get. We can focus on the negative stuff, the stuff that we don't want, and we can resist the stuff we don't want, and then that leads to more frustration, irritability. We're annoyed with the present moment. We're annoyed with the way our lives are, that we're not getting enough, that we don't have what we need, that we want more. And we can be pissed off with our bodies and pissed off with where we're at, or we can really actually look for the good in our day and in what we have. And I really hope this doesn't sound preachy. Like I said, I'm only sharing this with you because it has completely changed my life, because I used to be the person that looked for all the negativity because I actually thought it was a way of protecting myself. And I remember chatting to this one time with somebody, and she was like, yeah, it's because you don't feel safe. It's because like anytime something good might be happening, you want to kind of drag it down so that you're not going to get a fright. Nothing negative is going to pop up because you've thought about it already. And I was like, fucking hell, that's so true. I didn't trust for things to be okay and to feel okay, that at any given moment I was expecting something bad to happen. So I was bracing myself for that. So it made sense to me to kind of focus on the negative to feel safe, which is fucked up really. So now I focus on the positive and my days are positive, which is really obvious, but it wasn't to me. So look, I hope this helps you, and I hope I'm making sense to you and you are enjoying the podcast recently. And if you are enjoying it, I'd love for you to rate and subscribe to it. And if you found this episode helpful, please do share it with a friend. And above all else, will you tell me if you're enjoying them? Get in touch with me on my Instagram or email me at jessica@jessicacooke.ie. And as always, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have the most wonderful day ahead. All my love to you, and bye.